All right, welcome to bed number 45. Bed number 45 is a bean bed. Now, I had planted some beans and it looks like the beans were very old. But I noticed that there were these plants, which to me don't look like beans, growing in a row. And I thought, that's very strange. Why would there be, and there's none other in the bed. There's 2 rows of these and there's no more in the bed. So why would a weed be growing in a row, nice little spaced rows in my bed that is full of weeds because I didn't mulch because I knew I had seedlings in here, seeds coming up, and I don't usually mulch my seeds right away. But why were these? They were a plant I did not recognize. They were in a line. See, there's another one right here. I hope you can see that. It's a little stretch for me. Why were these? Well, I pulled one of the plants up gently and looked at it and recognized instantly the seed that I was seeing. It's garbanzo. So I had planted garbanzo beans in here and thought they did not come up. I thought they were old seeds, whatever. They didn't come up, but no, they did come up. There's 3 of them there. It looks like I lost one in the middle. And then I see them here. There's another line of them. I hope you can see that on this side. Whoop. Let's see. Yes, you can see them. So here is one of my sticks. Remember, I put the sticks up for the beans. Now, this is another example of do it right the first time and you don't have to do it again and again, right? That's it. My grandfather used to have a saying in his garage. I wish I could remember it exactly, but it was, nobody ever has time to do it right the first time, but they have time to do it again. And that is so true. You want to do it right the first time so that you don't have to try to find time to do it again. So you see here's some, you can see as I'm starting to clean this, you can see these definite distinctive plants in a row. And this is the garbanzo. Now there's another row behind me. Those are a plant that I do know, and I do not see that same. What happened was I went through my beans and soaked them overnight like I usually do with my dry beans and planted them. Some of the beans were so old. They were a seed company that I don't even think is in business anymore. Or they moved on to what they sell, whatever. So that's the reason. That isn't one good reason why you should always try to put in fresher, newer seeds. And you can see here between this, that's a weed, that's a weed, that's a weed. And I can verify that they're weeds too sometimes because I found out that one was a plant right there, this one here, because I gently pulled, I put my fingers under it and I pulled it up gently because I wanted to see if there was a seed at the bottom, because beans will hold on to that seed for a while before it disappears to send up the plant that they need. So I kind of knew. I'm looking to see if there's any other ones. I see the stick here. So I will come back in now. I don't know if I'll plant more of the garbanzo. Those seeds were probably a few years old. Your seeds lose the ability to germinate after a while. Your onion seeds are the worst. I didn't believe people. I said, oh no, I can germinate. No, you can't. And I will be very careful in this bed on what I pull because I am looking for beans that came up that I didn't know. When you plant a new plant, I forgot to look up to see what that plant seedling looked like. So I didn't know. I was expecting this, a bean plant. Bean plants are distinctive to me. I know what they look like. I've grown them many, many, many years. But garbanzo were new for me, so I did not know what to look for in the plant. So now that I know what to look for, I can say, oh, that's a garbanzo. I think I'm growing different colors of them. I think I found different variations, different varieties. I like to do that. If I'm going to grow a plant, I'm going to try another variety. Sesame, yeah, you can get white sesame seeds. I want to grow black sesame seeds. I want to see what I can grow. Growing, to me, the fun is in preparing the bed. Listen to these weeds pop. And growing different things. This garden, you know, I love the homesteading channels and stuff, but my garden is not about only feeding my family. My garden is about making a formal vegetable and fruit garden where I can harvest herbs, which tend to be very expensive. And here's the hardest weeds to pull. There's a tomato. But it's so small. It's easy to pull when they're small. When they start to get bigger, I really do find them hard to pull. I have a couple of volunteer tomatoes. When you let volunteers grow, you don't know what variety they are. Unless that bed was completely dedicated to that last year. I have a bed where I've grown the tiny little Tom Thumb, red currant, spoon tomatoes. And then I know that that's what's coming up because I can tell by the leaf size too. So I'm going to work on this garden bed. I don't know where my camera starts and stops. I didn't pay attention because I really just wanted to show you. I was looking at this bed. Why was this one particular vetch looking weed growing in a row? Why? Why was it just these between the sticks, like perfectly between this stick here that I had put in the ground and that stick there and this stick and that stick? I know I had planted new plants in here, but I was waiting for a bean plant. And instead I got these. And then I decided to do a search just before I turned on the camera. And I said, oh, that's what those are. And I dug up that one right there. It should survive. I was very careful with it. And I saw that there was a garbanzo bean at the bottom. So, and I'm probably saying garbanzo wrong. Sorry. I don't know the correct pronunciation. Maybe I'll look it up. Or maybe it is garbanzo. You know, everybody has their own regional thing. It's like living in certain towns and villages. You may pronounce your town or village different than what it says. Like, it's Java, not Java. You know, it's Chile, it's not Chile. We have a lot of examples like that around here where you just pronounce the town name or the village name or the area differently than the way it's spelled. So it's just a regional thing. But there are my garbanzos. They're in a nice row. This row here between these two sticks, this one came up, and I think that might be a volunteer because it's off the row. So that is the one benefit of putting it. They're just little sticks. They're not even big, huge sticks. They're not. Sometimes they're just. I can see them standing up. They stand up. It's an unusual position. You know, it's not a weed. If I pull on it, it comes right back up. So I knew that I planted that, or that I put that stick in there, and there's one on the other side which lines it up. So be aware of these things when you're in the garden. That I try not to disturb the roots of the plants. When you pull the weeds, it's very hard sometimes when you have a weed that is very close to your plant. You want to be very careful pulling it out. You don't want to damage your plant, because it's important that you remove the weeds that will take over on your plants, will get taller than your plants, will steal the sunlight from your plants, will steal water from your plants, will steal nutrients from your plants. But a lot of times, if it's clover, you could pinch it. You can just try to pinch the top without hurting the plant itself. Just to keep those roots from being disturbed. So this is it. I have to work on this bed. I do not know why. I now know why these I thought didn't come up did come up. This didn't come up. These were older seeds. I know they were. I have on the other side, I have some bush beans that 3 of them came up, and the 2 rows of the yellows didn't come up at all. So the yellow ones I know were older. The purple ones, the purple beans, bush beans were younger, were newer. They had a newer. One of the things I've started to do is when my seeds come in, because I am a crazy gardener. I just go and I go, ooh, and I see something new and I order it. And I do have a plan. I really do have a plan for my garden. I know that I'm going to grow 3 beds, full beds, the big 4, the beds that were made by the by 2 8-footers, so 4 by 16s. I know that those are, I'm going to grow 3 tomato beds. Every year I'm going to go 3 tomato beds. That's my limit. That's about how much I need. I make a little bit of sauce with them. I eat them for fresh eating. I give a bunch away. So I always have 3 beds of tomatoes. Where they're going to be, I don't know. Some years I move them, some years I let them stay. I know I'm going to have 2 beds of peppers. I'm going to do 1 of hot peppers, even though I don't usually eat them, and I'm going to do 1 of sweet peppers. Where they're going to be, I don't know. They don't need any structure to them. Beans, this is my bean bed. Next year, I'm definitely going to move this bean bed, only because it's been here for now 5 years, and I could really use it to probably, maybe I'll move tomatoes in here next year or something. Although I think tomatoes don't like to follow beans. I got to look that up. Sometimes when you do rotations, things don't like to follow other things. Oh, I get thistles, so I always have to grab thistles. You probably can't see that. It's a bed behind us. I do like to rotate a little bit because, as one gardener said, things work well in your garden until all of a sudden they don't. So one of the things you want to be cognizant of in your garden is you want to be aware that, yes, I have used compost every year as my mulch. Every year for my mulch. And then I didn't tend to it as well, and it didn't work. My soil is crumbly. It is very, very fertile, but it dries out very easily. So that's why this year I'm using straw mulch. I've gone on YouTube, I've done some research on my own, and it will hold in the moisture. It's one of the better ones. There's also pine straw that will work, but pine straw for me is not economical, I should say. I can afford anything, but once. It's kind of like, you can eat a poisonous mushroom once. You know, I want to keep my garden within reason. I don't mind having a $40 tomato, but I don't want to have a $1,000 tomato. So I'm looking at things to keep my soil moist, and that has come up. And when my soil is not moist, it gets very hard, and the plants have a difficult time. I can't even pull weeds out. So you do what you need to do, but pay attention. Notice I put those in a line. It kind of alerted me to, that's a new plant. Let's just look that up. I looked it up several times. Like I said, I dug one, and that's what it is. So be aware, you know, yes, it's all fun and games. I could sit here and pull weeds all day, and I would have guessed that those were weeds. But something about them said, look it up, take a look, see what that is. And yes, it is something that I did plant. I wanted to plant, I wanted to grow, and now I know that it doesn't look like a bean. So that's the way it works. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'm an old gardener and I still make mistakes, and hopefully I catch them before I pull them out of the ground. So I'm going to work on these beds. Let me give you a little update on the beans on the other side that I was talking about. There's sticks here and there, and there was a line that goes back there. Those 2 rows didn't come up. Those were yellow beans, I do believe I planted. And on this side, all of these bush beans except for one in the middle there didn't. I think I had a rabbit come through and eat the tops of some of these. This one actually was a volunteer from last year. I might just pull it out because it just looks so tired, and I don't like to have plants that show too many signs of weakness. There are some nicer growths on the top. I don't know. It's hard for me to pull a plant that's a volunteer. I planted these beans that will grow up the pole, but I had some last year that are growing, so I need to get a longer stick so it'll reach the bean pole. I didn't clean these off completely, but oh well. It's my garden. I can do what I want. And then here, you can see these beans came up. I have a space in the middle, not sure why. Over there, I have some growing, and then I have an entire row that didn't come up. So I will be looking it up and finding out what I grew. I think those are limas on the other side. I'm not sure what I put on this side. Again, as a gardener, I should label better, but the sticks kind of alert me to where the rows are. So that's one way. I am getting a ton of this. My weed of the day today is going to be this. This. It stands out. It looks like it could be like not a cactus, but a succulent. It's got a long stem. They run together. This year, because of the rain, I am getting lots and lots of them. They have spread. They usually spread by their root system. I'm completely drawing a blank on the name. I'll put it up on the list. I do that from time to time. I'm probably like a lot of other people. You do it so often, you know what it is, and then you kind of forget the name of it. But I will be working on this today. That's all this is. See if I can get one you could see the structure of it. So see, it goes from the center and it spreads out. Now these will grow in your lawn. They don't like to be trampled, so I don't have a lot of them in the lawn, but they do love the garden beds because I don't walk in the garden beds. They're very easy to pull up, which is nice. They have a shallow type of root system and they just connect to each other. So here's a bunch they must have started from seed because there's so many little ones in one spot. Usually the more mature ones and the ones that have spread. Here's one. Like this. It's spread from the central piece out. And you can see the roots. But it's very shallow rooted. They come up very easily. If you do leave the roots behind, they will grow back. But again, I am an exhaustion gardener. I will go after weeds and go after weeds and go after weeds. And it's just as simple as spending a little bit of time in the garden. The more time you spend in the garden pulling your weeds, the less weeds you'll have. It really does work that way. It's not, this will get pulled out, and it's not really, once you get past that initial shock of the big weeds, my garden now doesn't take very long to weed. So I don't even record it because I can come through and just sit down, weed a garden, move on, and I'm done in 10, 15 minutes. So it doesn't take the hours long that some of my garden beds have taken. But today's weed, let me see. Again, I looked this up. I took a quick offline. This is purslane. It is considered edible, very nutritious, but I'm not, I mean, it doesn't taste like much to me. It's not what I'm growing in my garden. But if you want to grow it, come over to my garden. I'll give you as much as you want. Probably not. I don't know if I want strange people in my garden. And I'm strange, and I don't want me in my garden sometimes. Probably a lot of you gardeners out there are the same. You like to garden for yourself. I don't mind when people come through, and I love, love, love to give, you know, my neighbors little tours, people that I know, and show off. I love to show off my garden, which is kind of one of the reasons why I'm recording. Not just for my kids, but so you can see that there's a lot of work that goes into a garden. But it is my passion. It's what I love to do. I've always gardened. But purslane is nutritious. I think actually, you're not going to believe this, but I did try growing it from seed. It didn't come up. And then to find out that it's wild, and now I grow it in a lot of places. I think my one bed of peppers is being taken over by purslane. I'm not so worried about the weed itself because of the shallow root system. It's not really good. It's going to take some of the moisture from my plants, but it's also going to provide moisture because it's going to be blocking the sun from hitting the ground. But then I use the mulch, so I don't really need it in there. But again, it's so easy to get rid of that. It's a shallow rooted plant. So just like dandelions, not all weeds are per se bad and not edible. This one's perfectly edible. Again, I usually don't eat foraged foods. So be aware that not everything that glitters is gold. Take a look. There are charts out there that tell you which seeds will last the longest, which seeds won't. They'll tell you onion seeds don't last. Well, onion seeds are probably, by the time you get them, are probably at least a full season old. So they do last 1 year. I started growing my own seeds, my own onion seeds now, just so that I know I have a fresh supply for the next year. I always start my onions out, because they're biennials, I always start them out as seeds really, really early and try to get them in the garden early. I didn't get them super early. So you need to know, will a seed last a long time? I mean, what may work for, say, storage, if you're storing beans, might be different than if you're trying to germinate beans. So there is a difference out there. Pay attention to that. Some seeds do get older, but I found that putting the file label, big bright letters, different colors every year on my seed packages really do tell me how old that seed is. So I can try to use the older seeds first, and if they don't germinate, I'll use the younger seeds. So, but this is the bed I need to clean today. I'm not going to bore you with the details of watching me weed pop, although that's my favorite part. I will work on this. The other bean bed doesn't look as bad as this one, but because I was waiting for those seeds to germinate, I wasn't sure. Seeds, new seeds coming up, and most new seeds, not some of them are very distinctive when they come up, and weeds, when they're germinating, can look the same. So what might look like a thick leaf to you could be a bean leaf, you know. So I wasn't pulling the weeds like I should, and that too, and I had a lot of other beds to work on, and I still have some beds that I weeded and then let go, so I need to get back to them. But this is happy weed popping time. Happy weed pop. Happy weed pop. All right. Enjoy your day. Enjoy weed popping. Enjoy looking for plants. Enjoy the outdoors and the fun of being out here, getting your vitamin D, and just enjoying the day. Happy gardening. There is one bit of purslane information that I need to give you. If you leave the smallest of plants, if you leave the leaves, if you leave the roots, purslane will grow back. This is one of those things is, yes, it's very easy to pull, but it will grow back. So you want to get as much out as you can. So I know I manhandle these when I pull them. You see, I pulled that one and I manhandled it. Woman handled it, baby handled it. I don't know, whatever, how kind of hand handling it. But you want to get these out of the garden. And like I said, they don't really stand up well in the lawn. They don't tend to creep back into the bed, but you have to get all these little pieces out. So that is the one thing about purslane that is important to know. You want to get the pieces out. Otherwise, you're just going to end up spreading it, because every one of these little things. So that's why I'm coming back and looking for them. I'm looking for these little pieces. I'm looking for these little leaves. I'm looking for the little roots. You know, you can pull them easily, but I only want to pull them so many times easily. Mulching will help, because that will really kind of suppress them. It will keep them from coming up and being able to germinate. So that's just the end of purslane for you. I don't know if that got caught on camera or not. I might have to edit this, put this in a little extra thing, but keep that in mind with purslane. You want to get those little pieces out of there. You don't want them back in your garden. That's not purslane. This is purslane. And it's easy to tell. It's got succulent leaves and a reddish stem. But with all plants, double and triple check. Don't just believe what I say. Look up foraging, talk to an expert, make sure that that's what it is. I might call it purslane, and I might have something in my hand that's completely not purslane. So don't believe me. I'm just a gardener with a lot of experience, but I don't wild forage. So know your plants and check them out. Make sure that the leaf structure is right. They'll tell you that the leaves are supposed to be across from each other. They'll tell you what the end's supposed to look like. They'll tell you what the stem's supposed to look like. They'll even tell you what the roots are supposed to, oh, that's not purslane. They'll even tell you what the roots are supposed to look like. See, there's the roots. There's the stem. There's the top of the plant. There's how the plant leaves grow. These happen to be across from each other, but here I notice they're not. So sometimes some plants will be symmetrical and some plants won't. And you really need to know the difference. And the other thing you need to really, really know about purslane is you need to know what they look like. Talk to a wild forager Make sure that this is the stem. It's supposed to look like this. Are they supposed to be across from each other? Can they be offset? This one's offset. These might be across. The stem color's right. The root structure's right. The leaves are right. You know how the leaf placement is, the size of the leaves. You want to make sure you know that. But one of the things I do know from Purslane is they will regrow because they are, I'm thinking because they're succulents, but I'm going to tell you I could be wrong, but I've seen these little leaves have just enough on them that they regrow. So you want to get all of this here. You want to get all of that out of your garden. You don't want to leave these in your garden. Throw them in your grass if you're like me and you don't care what's in your grass. Throw them in, in your compost, whatever. They're fine in the compost. They're usually, these weeds are very easy to control, but if you leave pieces behind with Purslane, you will end up with more and more Purslane. So this is a weed that you just have to get out of the garden. It doesn't disturb your plants. It actually makes a good mulch plant. Because it doesn't have a deep root system, so it will shade your soil. It will steal some water. It will steal a little bit of nutrient, but all in all, it won't hurt your plants. But I like a nice, neat garden, and I would rather use mulch. So, and there's no plants growing here actually right now because this is my bean bed, and this is what happened to my bean bed. It got overgrown. So when I see these, I'm coming through, and I probably take my gloves off because I can just feel, there's a little leaf. Right there's a little leaf. I want to make sure I get those out of there. Mulching will help. Mulching will stop the leaves from getting enough sunlight so that they have energy to create a root system. You want to stop that. Oh, put that plastic on the side. If I find plastic, I hate pull it out. It blows in, it comes in. I don't know how it gets here. It's magic. I don't know all the mechanisms, but you just want to get as many of these roots and plants out of here to keep them from coming back. Once I mulch, it'll do better. Uh-oh, did I just pull that bean? No, I must have. My bean is missing. Oh, no. Oh, there it is. There's the top of it. Well, I was going to plant more anyway, so yes, that is clearly a bean. I have disturbed the roots on it. I have broken the top. I am a bad gardener. Okay, bye. Hello, I'm Joanne, and welcome back to my garden. I have 67 raised bed gardens in my large vegetable and herb garden. I've numbered them. This is number 44, and this is number 45. They're my bean beds this year. Maybe next year I'll move the things. So they have there's 2 cattle panels in here that I got a few, and a pretty little girl, but she doesn't stay here. She likes to go inside. So in this bed I have bush beans. I have vining beans, pole beans. Purple pole beans are my absolute favorites. My second favorite are the rattlesnake beans. And you can see that they're coming up and over that trellis. Yep. I have some lima beans growing. I have some, those are actually garbanzo beans, which they don't look like beans, but they are garbanzo beans. You can see that I have some other beans growing. I don't remember all the varieties I planted right now. On the end here of 44, I have 2 okra plants. I have a red crimson and just a green spineless. So I got to keep pulling the beans out of them because the beans just like to entrance everything. So there's been a couple of Japanese beetles, but they haven't done too much damage yet. I do not think I have any beans yet. I've seen the flowers, but it usually takes a couple days after the flowers. And since this is weed popping time, I do notice that of all the beds for weeds, this bed, because it produces nitrogen to the soil, tends to be the worst with the weeds. They're great when they shade them out, but in the meantime, I do get a lot of weeds in these beds. So I'm just waiting for my beans to come up and do a little bit of weeding. Not a lot. I don't want to disturb the roots of my plants. I will find many tomatoes. For some reason, when the birds come and take the beans at the end of the year, they also leave me tomato seeds. So there's a lot of tomatoes in here. And I will get to these weeds. It just rained, so I really don't want to do a lot of messing around in the beds, although it's a beautiful day now that the rain has stopped. We did not get a lot of rain again, so I will be back to watering. But this is bed number 44 and 45. They kind of go together because they are the bean beds and they're connected with the trellis. I don't know if I'll change that. I think I'd like to add a third trellis because I really like pole beans. They're my absolute favorite beans to grow. I just seem to, and I love the purple because they stand out, and I like the yellows because they stand out. I like the rattlesnakes because they stand out. So, but this is just a quick update of bed number 44 and 45. Where are we today? How are they doing? And there's some weeds to pop. Thank you and enjoy. Happy gardening. Okay, is it a good angle? Yeah. Okay, leave it there then. Okay, welcome to bed 44. I'm also going to do bed 45. I didn't get a chance to get to them yesterday. These are the bean beds. There's some pole beans in here, and we will help it climb up the pole. Sometimes I just need help starting. I don't know why. There's also some bush beans here in the front that are growing quite well. This is another variety of beans. Those are purple pole beans, I know for a fact, because they are my son's favorite bean, or at least they used to be. And now I say they're my son's favorite bean every time I say it, so it must be true. Okay, so then in the front here, after the pole beans are attacking, come here. That's just a little Coke thing. It's funny, if I hit that with a little bit of water, it tends to set its shape. So the pole beans are coming up. Now I want to keep them out of the path, so that's why I'm getting them up and out and getting them to join their friends on the trellis here. It's just a simple cattle panel. I was lucky we were able to, begrudgingly to the people at the store, get them on my little car, fold them in half, bungee cord them, and luckily it was a short drive. But we put them on the roof of the car. Oh no, we didn't. We had I had a hitch on that car, and we had a flat thing. I used to take my mother's scooter around with. But that car is no longer, so I'll probably not be getting some. So the weeds aren't too bad in here. If I start digging into them, the weeds seem to love growing. Oops, here's the hardest weed again. It's a tomato plant. The weeds love growing inside here. So that makes it harder to get to them because the beans start to get really thick. What is it? Oh, very good. Those are some grasses. You can pull those out. There's another tomato plant. Yeah, they'll pull out like nice and easy. Just don't pull those because those are beans. Okay. I'm not going to worry about in there because the beans have actually been shading the ground. And because they've been shading the ground, I don't really have a problem with them. There was a lot of volunteer beans that started here this year that are actually growing up in mass. En masse, yes. There's a big weed. When the big weeds stick out, then I will get them. Look at that weed. But again, I was surprised this year. Okay, we might have to move the camera to the other bed. Yep. Take a look. Thank you. Okay. This doesn't look so bad. Let's see, how much of the other bed am I getting? This is bed 45. That was bed 44. Weed popping. Weed popping. Well, we can't see you. All we see is your head on the video. You got to get on the side. See, you're learning too. I had to learn in a few videos. I had to throw them out because I was in the way for them. I don't have a shovel. I mean, some of these deeper ones I'm going to miss. You okay? Should we take you to the emergency room? No, not an emergency room. Okay. I need my shovel. There's a thick root here. Okay, I don't know if I got all the root. Now, I think these are a form of chicory. I'm not sure. Without the top on them, it's hard to do identification. So these are lima beans. Only two, well, actually more than two came up, but I weeded them by mistake.
Are these weeds?
Yes, ma'am. Those are weeds. Yeah. Okay, make sure you get the root. Coming to kill the weeds. Okay, there's some tomatoes here. Now, I didn't grow tomatoes in this bed ever, but they're here. I let them go to seed last year. I let them grow last year, the ones that were volunteers. And because of that, just be careful you don't pull a plant that's weed. Ask mommy first, okay? Thank you, dear.
I know it because It's right out of the stick.
Oh yeah, it's right out of this where I put the stick, the plant marker. I don't know what happened to this.
Look, plant markers.
Why is that living on that side? I'm not living on this side.
And this. Okay, bye.
Okay, bye. Where are you going?
Getting a drink.
Okay. I have some water out here, I think. My water is the best tasting water ever. I must do something special to it. It's just water with ice. Okay. These beds don't look so bad. One of the things I do is I may be doing a heavier weeding today on this, but most of the time, what you don't see on camera is I come through my gardens and I'm checking my plants, I'm looking at them, and I will be pulling a couple weeds. Now, I won't have a shovel. I won't have my gloves on, so I will just be pulling them lightly. And when you check on your plants, one, you know what your plants are doing. You know the health of your plants. Here's some more beans that need to be wound up. Somebody can explain to me why they always go that counterclockwise? Counterclockwise? Up the pole. I try to do that if I can. Start them out that way. Okay. This bed is actually looking pretty good. Making a tight turn, the plane. And this was the bed here, 45, where I was growing the garbanzos and realized garbanzo beans don't look like regular beans. And I had a problem with it. Oops, I went the wrong way, so hopefully she'll still climb. Okay. Oh, sure, you don't just want us to go up there, do you? But your friends are here. Go with your friends. There you go. Okay. So the garbanzo beans are doing well. I'm starting to see the start of flowers. So let me give you a quick showing of close-up of bed. First, we'll do bed 44. Climbing beans. The purple pole beans really stand out with their purple stalks. Then I have yellow bush beans and purple bush beans, but I'm wondering if maybe they were mislabeled. They seem a little viney to me. Maybe they're just really happy. Those are rattlesnake beans back there. I'm not remembering the rest of the beans. Let's go and look at the okra. Doing well. The red and the spineless. More beans. These were this corner here were volunteer beans. So I've been pushing them over. I was going to start some bush beans, but I thought I have enough. So then these ferny looking things are garbanzos. Nope, I'm in the sunlight. It's like 10 o'clock. And then I've got these beans here growing, and I'm clearly seeing flowers. And then these, I put some bush beans in front of the two. These two here, right there, and right there are lima beans, which are also new to me. So every year I try to grow something, sometimes too many new things. I did this year. But these beds are weeded. I'm done with weed popping time in these two beds, 44 and 45. And you can see everything is growing nicely. Here comes my little cabbage moth. The beans are touching the top of the pole and starting to go over, which is awesome. This last year was so full of beans without me planting any beans. They came over the top and I had beans and beans and beans. So we had a lot of fresh eating beans despite me leaving this bed. So that's it. That's bed 44 and 45. I'll see you later. Thank you so much for joining me.